Look, let me make one final observation about this election in a country known as the parent of the free world. Tucker Carlson is a television presenter, a political commentator, a host of Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox News. I think this bloke is a class act. Today, he took up his theme that I have been arguing. And I thought, given the phenomenal response to my editorial comment this week, that my viewers deserve to hear it. On my Facebook page, Alan Jones Australia, the Monday editorial drew almost 1 million views. On Tuesday, the Trump comment, 750,000. And the piece I wrote for the Daily Telegraph, Sydney, and Brisbane's Courier Mail and the Gold Coast Bulletin has drawn 1,200 comments. Australian viewers might be a lot of things, but they aren't stupid. So I thought I'd share with you some of what Tucker Carlson said today. And this is ample proof of the issues Miranda Devine and I have been addressing. Here is part of Tucker Carlson prosecuting the same case.
Democrats completely changed the way we voted in this election. Our system has never been more disorganized and it's never been more vulnerable to manipulation. So was there voter fraud last week? That's a question we've been working on since election night. We've tried to be careful and precise as we report this out. In moments like this, truth really matters more than ever. False allegations of fraud can cause as much damage as the fraud itself. Jussie Smollett hurt more people with his lies than any actual hate crime. And the last thing America needs right now is more damage. So we want to be accurate. What we're about to tell you is accurate. It's not a theory. It happened, and we can prove it. Other news organizations could prove it, too. They've simply chosen not to. The position of corporate media across the country this week has been very simple. There was no voter fraud.
Sources tell CNN that top aides are suggesting that the defeated President Trump, hold rallies to drum up bogus conspiracies about election fraud.
The GOP keeps spreading completely unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud.
The Attorney General now telling federal prosecutors to look into those unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud.
There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Bogus conspiracy theories, completely unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud. They say it again and again, but what exactly are they talking about? They won't tell you, so we're going to tell you. Right now, fewer than 15,000 votes separate Donald Trump from Joe Biden in the state of Georgia. It's close enough that it's worth getting specific about what happened there. And Georgia's Secretary of State has now confirmed there will be a hand recount of all votes cast in Georgia. Among those votes, auditors will find a ballot cast by a woman called Deborah Jean Christensen. It'd be hard to find anyone who's got a bad word to say about Deborah Jean Christensen. She was well known in her community for years as a bird watcher, an avid gardener, a committed fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. Those who knew her were sad when she died last May, and they might be surprised to learn that even after her death, Deborah Jean Christensen still managed to register to vote and then cast a ballot, presumably for Joe Biden. In some ways, it's an inspiring story, the triumph of voting over death. And no one quite embodies that story like James Blaylock of Covington, Georgia. Mr. Blaylock was a mailman for 33 years until he passed away in 2006. 14 years later, according to state records, he was still mailing things. James Blaylock cast a ballot in last week's election. How did he do that? It might be worth asking the New York Times. Maybe James Blaylock was just one of those extraordinary mail carriers. Neither rain, nor snow, nor gloom of night, nor even death itself could keep him from the mail. In his case, maybe voting from the grave wasn't really fraud, it was just commitment. Okay, but what about Linda Kessler of Nicholson, Georgia? Linda Kessler died in 2003. 17 years later, she was still voting in presidential elections. Edward Swinott of Trenton, Georgia, spent his life working construction and teaching school. In his spare time, he loved bluegrass music. According to those who knew him, he played multiple instruments and enjoyed jam sessions. When he died 5 years ago at the age of 82, it seemed like he was gone from this world for good. But no, last week he voted for president. And he wasn't the only one. On your screen right now, you will see the names of other deceased voters. Every one of them played a role in last week's presidential election. As of tonight, there aren't enough of them to alter the outcome. That could change as we learn more. But for the moment, the point is, they exist. They are dead, but they voted anyway. The question is, how did they do that? How exactly did they cast their ballots? And the short answer is, by mail. Dead people tend to vote more often when you make it easier for them to vote. They're like any other group. And this year we made it much easier. for the dead to vote. States sent ballots and registration forms to millions of people totally unsolicited. The pretext was COVID. We had to do this for public health reasons, remember? We had no choice. It was a public health emergency. The effect was to encourage fraud. One 2012 study by Pew found there were close to 2 million dead people still on voter rolls around this country. That study also found that approximately 24 million voter registrations, that is 1 out of every 8 in America, were wrong. They were no longer valid, or they were significantly incorrect. Close to 3 million people in America had registrations in more than one state. 3 million. So what happens if you start sending ballots and registrations to lists like this? Well, you're guaranteed to increase the amount of fraudulent voting. And that's exactly what Democrats did.
Get your head around that. 2 million dead people on the voter rolls, 24 million voter registrations, 1 out of every 8 Americans were wrong, 3 million registered to vote in more than one state, and ballot papers were sent to all of these people. As Tucker Carlson just established, dead people actually voted. No wonder one of the lawsuits being filed by the Trump people will be arguing that in this critical state of Pennsylvania, 450,000 ballots were removed from their envelopes and validated, but without any Republican observations. I've said all week, this matter is not over by a long shot. What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au, or text me 0414 000 848. Well, now listen, while we're talking about Tucker Carlson, this will give you a laugh, but it is tragic. This is a bloke, Joe Biden, who could be the next president of the United States and leader of the free world. He is in cognitive decline and barely literate. Here is Tucker Carlson again today.
Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
Got that? It's right for people to have bad health. And if you don't have bad health soon, Joe Biden will make sure that you do. That's his pledge to you. But giving every American bad health isn't easy. Joe Biden knows that. So he's going to mobilize a pressure campaign to get it done. What kind of campaign to get bad health? Joe Biden has thought a lot about it. Here's his solution.
Look, I'll do what he's unable to do. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Joe Biden's going to do that. Donald Trump can't do that. Donald Trump can't even pronounce, but Joe Biden can. Listen again.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Yeah, he'll lead an effective strategy to do that, whatever it is.
Oh, for God's sake, are we seriously saying this bloke is to be President of the United States? If he had any modesty about him, he should never have accepted the nomination. It is a profound embarrassment.